December 7, 1941, began like any other quiet Sunday morning in Hawaii. The sailors at Pearl Harbor were just waking up, some were preparing for church services while others were still asleep in their bunks. Families on the island were enjoying breakfast, unaware that history was about to change forever. At 7 a.m., the calm skies above Oahu exploded into chaos as hundreds of Japanese aircraft descended on the U.S. Pacific Fleet anchored at Pearl Harbor. Within minutes, the serene paradise was transformed into a living nightmare. Smoke, fire, explosions, and the deafening roar of warplanes filled the air. America had been caught off guard, and the world would never be the same. The Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor wasn't just a random strike. It was the result of months of planning, secrecy, and strategic calculation. Tensions between the United States and Japan had been escalating for years. Japan's aggressive expansion across Asia and the Pacific, including the invasion of China and its occupation of French Indochina, put it on a collision course with American interests. The U.S., in an attempt to halt Japanese aggression, imposed harsh economic sanctions, including freezing Japanese assets and cutting off vital oil supplies. For Japan, a nation dependent on imports, this was nothing less than a threat to survival. Their leaders believed that striking a crippling blow against America's Pacific Fleet could buy them the time needed to expand their empire and secure critical resources. The attack itself was meticulously planned. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the brilliant yet conflicted Japanese commander, knew the risks of awakening the United States' industrial giant. Still, he believed a decisive first strike could tilt the balance in Japan's favor. On November 26, 1941, 6 Japanese aircraft carriers secretly set sail, carrying more than 350 planes, escorted by battleships and submarines. For days, they moved silently across the Pacific, maintaining radio silence to avoid detection. Their destination, the unsuspecting naval base at Pearl Harbor. When the attack came, it was devastating. The first wave targeted airfields and battleships, ensuring that American planes could not take off to defend themselves, and the mighty U.S. battleships wouldn't be able to escape. Bombs rained down on the USS Arizona, detonating its forward magazine in a fiery explosion so massive that it sank instantly, killing more than 1,000 sailors trapped inside. The USS Oklahoma was struck by torpedoes and capsized within minutes, taking hundreds of crewmen down with it. The USS West Virginia, California, and Nevada were all heavily damaged. In just over 2 hours, the Japanese had sunk or crippled 8 battleships, destroyed nearly 200 aircraft, and killed more than 2,400 Americans. Yet, for all the destruction, the attack was not the decisive victory Japan had hoped for. By sheer luck, and perhaps fate, the U.S. aircraft carriers, which were the true backbone of naval power in the Pacific, were not in port that morning. The USS Enterprise, USS Lexington, and USS Saratoga were all out at sea, spared from destruction. Moreover, vital repair facilities, fuel storage tanks, and submarine bases at Pearl Harbor were left largely intact. Japan had struck hard, but not fatally. For the United States, the attack was a national shock, unlike anything the country had ever experienced. Until that moment, much of America had remained hesitant to enter World War II, preferring to watch from a distance as Europe and Asia burned. But Pearl Harbor changed everything. President Franklin D. Roosevelt addressed Congress the following day, calling December 7th a date which will live in infamy. His words galvanized the nation. Within hours, Congress declared war on Japan, and just days later, Germany and Italy declared war on the United States, plunging the nation fully into World War II. The Japanese believed the attack would cripple America's will to fight. Instead, it did the opposite. It ignited a wave of unity and determination across the country. Men lined up at recruitment offices, women joined the workforce in unprecedented numbers, and factories roared to life, producing ships, planes, and weapons at a pace no other nation could match. America's entry into the war would eventually shift the balance of power, not just in the Pacific, but across the entire globe. Pearl Harbor also marked the beginning of some of the most dramatic and brutal battles in history. The Pacific War that followed was fought island by island, from Midway to Iwo Jima, each battle a testament to the resilience and sacrifice of soldiers, sailors, and Marines. The same aircraft carriers that survived Pearl Harbor would go on to play critical roles in turning the tide of war. Just 6 months later, at the Battle of Midway, the United States dealt Japan a crushing defeat, sinking 4 of its carriers and halting its expansion. But the memory of Pearl Harbor never faded. For those who survived, it was a moment seared into their minds forever. The sound of alarms blaring, the sight of comrades trapped in burning ships, the smell of smoke and fuel mixing with salt water. For the families who lost loved ones, it was a wound that never truly healed. And for the nation, it was a reminder of vulnerability, resilience, and the heavy cost of freedom. Today, Pearl Harbor stands not only as a historical event, but as a symbol of remembrance. The USS Arizona Memorial, which sits above the sunken battleship, is a solemn tribute to the men who lost their lives that day. Visitors from around the world come to pay their respects, gazing into the waters where oil still seeps to the surface more than 80 years later, often called the Tears of the Arizona. The site is both a grave and a reminder, a warning about the dangers of complacency and the unpredictable course of history. In many ways, Pearl Harbor was the turning point that set the stage for the modern world. Had the attack not occurred, America might have delayed entering the war, and the outcome of global conflict could have been drastically different. Instead, the Japanese gamble backfired. They had hoped to weaken America's resolve, but they ended up awakening a force of industrial and military power unlike anything the world had ever seen. By 1945, Japan would be in ruins, and the United States would emerge as a global superpower. The story of Pearl Harbor is not just about ships and planes, it is about people. It is about the young sailors who never had the chance to grow old, the nurses who worked tirelessly through the chaos to save lives, the families who waited for news that never came. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and follow